Raiden, come in. What is wrong? You knew those cyborgs signed up for this. What's the problem with it now?
Don't you get it, Boris? I thought you of all people might understand. I thought you knew what it means to take a life, the weight of it. Not an easy thing to put into words. What about when the Soviets invaded Afghanistan? You killed dozens of guerrillas.
Duh, because Comrade Brezhnev told me to. Men don't like killing their own kin. Even animals are the same way. But when you really believe in someone or something, sometimes it is the only way. Your cause is just, Raiden. You must remember.
I'm trying, but... Christ! You're right. We've got to free those brains.
Yes. Stay strong, Raiden.
Boris, I want to check how raising the codec encryption level affects transmission.
Copy. Reading you 5, Raiden. You?
Loud and clear. I'm seeing a reduction in peak power when sending. We're on a broader direct sequence spread spectrum?
Duh. Frequency hopping pattern changed to blue 1.
Copy.
Interference still appears below process gain, too. Hell of a system. Worth every dollar. What is your processing load?
I pinged HQ data storage with my tactical data line. The increase in latency is below 5%.
Хорошо. In that case, it will not affect mission. Our system is just one notch below toughest security available. Denver police cannot see we are even transmitting at all. All our communication is perfectly safe.
Copy that.
Raiden, watch for Monsoon's magnetic ability. He uses those psi to manipulate almost anything. The larger the object, the harder it will be to avoid. Better to cut them in blade mode. It seems Monsoon cannot keep his body broken apart for long. Raiden, keep attacking. Force him to stay apart. Maybe you can trigger a critical failure. It is your best chance at taking him out. Raiden, he's using red phosphorus grenades. Infrared cannot see through the smoke. It makes him practically invisible. He will use it as cover to attack, but do not panic. Do not run around like a blind mouse. Be patient and focus. Wait for your moment to strike. Monsoon can detach and reconnect his body parts at will, Raiden. He uses it to dodge attacks and to expand his own offense. But if you can parry and counterattack, you should be able to seriously damage him. You must parry his attacks.
Boris, you got anything for me?
What do you mean?
What do I mean? Intel, advice, help. What we always do over the codec.
Well, yes, but in this case we had no official prep time. We have the map of Denver, but no briefing notes, no intel on enemy capabilities. I wish I could be of more help, but, well, I have nothing to work with. I'm sorry, Raiden.
That's all right. I know you're doing whatever you can.
But what about your robot dog friend? He's taking on scouting duty for you, yes? Why not try contacting him? Raiden, what are you doing? You left Maverick for this?
Jesus, Raiden, this is a little over the top. I mean, I've seen you pull some shit before, but this,
You should know me better than that by now, Kev.
I thought I did. Look, I know there's no legal way to stop World Marshal, but there has got to be an alternative to going on a rampage smack dab in the center of Denver.
No alternatives, Kev. I'm getting those kids out.
Raiden, that VR training, it's like what you did in Liberia?
Judging by what Sundowner said in Mexico, yeah. That scientist called it the Sears program.
After ex-President George Sears, a.k.a. Solidus Snake.
Yep. Ironic that kid shares his name. Solidus trained child soldiers in Liberia while working as a CIA paramilitary. It's not a happy memory. All the drugs, the non-stop violence, it destroyed my sense of judgment completely. I was made to kill soldiers, POWs, civilians.
Raiden.
The next thing I know, Jack's back. I thought it was all in the past, but there I am, attacking a child.
You didn't have any other choice. Other kids would have died.
That's not the problem. I lost my cool back there. All I could do was think how much I wanted that guy dead.
A lot of us would have done the same.
Even if it meant killing George.
He's not dead, though. Actually, he really digs his new body.
Either way, I'm shutting this program down. Maybe they've got it better than me. They don't actually have to kill anyone in reality. But they're still going through the motions, having it pumped straight into their senses, just like real life.
All right. Just give me a call if there's anything I can do.
Sure. Riding out. So let me get this straight. All law enforcement in Denver's been subcontracted out to World Marshal?
Pretty much. It's part of Colorado's small government initiative. When you're tasked with slashing a state's budget, privatizing the police force starts to make sense. Detroit was kind of the pioneer there. Armstrong spearheaded the idea, of course, back when he was still in the state senate.
No surprise. But the police force isn't all cyborg, is it?
Nah, no way anyone could get funding for that. Most of them are unmodified. New recruits or veterans from the old Denver PD. They handle most of the basic police work, like street patrols and investigations. Most cyborgs are part of the SWAT unit. They're sent out to handle riots, violent crimes, stuff like that.
Makes sense.
They're given separate roles in the force, too. Some specialize entirely in combat, others handle things like hostage negotiations. Some of the combat specialists are ex-US Army, but a lot of them are from overseas, too. A lot of them undergo the cyborg operation just to get a green card.
That kind of thing must go over great with the anti-immigration movement.
You know it. A lot of folks wanted a blanket ban on hiring immigrants for the police force. They get a bad rep for those helmets, too. Can't see their faces. They're required to keep their face guards up if they're not actively on a mission, though. Thing is, we're starting to see a wave of violent cyborg crime across America, you know? The way the police see it, they need more cyborgs on the force to deal with that.
Hope they have enough cyborgs to deal with me.
Bryden? You okay?
Yeah, they knew what they signed up for. Maybe life backed them into a corner, but they knew the risks.
Exactly. A contractor's always balancing those risks against the money he's making. Those cops are no different.
That, and they're actively helping Sundowner and Armstrong with all their shit. Having a bit of regret doesn't make killing kids okay.
Yeah, they had to know they were working for the bad guys. Even if they didn't, it doesn't absolve them of all their crimes.
Yeah, I know, Kev, but...
Bryden?
I don't have time to think about this right now. I need to get back to the mission.
Roger that. Bryden, how's the mechs? No headaches or anything?
No, why do you ask?
You're in a high altitude zone, remember?
Oh, right. The Mile High City. Didn't think I'd have to worry about altitude sickness yet, though. You're checking my stats, right? Oxygen density's only 10% off normal. Body's still in the green.
Yeah, I'm watching. Just remember, it's definitely gonna feel a little different from sea level.
Copy. You know, I didn't realize how big Denver's gotten. It was never exactly small, I know, but it looks like it's really blown up these past few years.
It's a good place to live. The tech sector's booming, people are moving in, and unemployment's low too.
I always figured Colorado's more about military than anything else.
Originally, yeah. Denver, like Colorado in general, is filled with federal agencies and defense contractors.
And NORAD and Peterson Air Force Base are just a short drive away, right? Over in Colorado Springs.
And then there's all the nuclear facilities, too.
Right. I remember hearing about the Rocky Flats plant.
Yeah, they manufactured the plutonium triggers that detonate nuclear bombs. It was shut down late last century for illegal pollution offenses. Of course, there's still a ton of military manufacturing activity going on in Colorado.
PMCs too, right?
Yep. PMCs like World Marshal. They've been on a buying frenzy, gobbling up a whole bunch of smaller outfits. That growth is what's enabled them to expand into the public sector. Their work in private policing has really boosted their profile.
I'm not necessarily against small government, but when you mix the public authority with private firms...
It never works out, yeah. This is probably obvious, but this police force is basically a full-on army. Don't go easy on them.
Don't intend to.
You okay, buddy? Looks like Wolf's posted some guidance data to your Soliton radar. Try following those markers. Right, he's using RP grenades. You can't see through that smoke, even with enhanced AR. Be careful. Ryden, you okay?
Never better, Kev. This guy was a wake-up call is all.
But you...
We'll talk later. Right now it's time for Monsoon and Jack the Ripper to get acquainted. So there's one more of the winds, right? Besides Sundowner and Mistral.
Yeah, Monsoon. That is,
You can skip the part about the name. I know monsoons are seasonal winds in Asia.
The word actually refers to seasonal winds anywhere, but yeah, it's usually used to describe the winds that bring Southeast Asia most of its rain.
Safe to assume he's Asian then, right?
Yep, his roots are with a Cambodian organized crime syndicate, not ex-military for a change. He's fluent in Khmer, Chinese, and English, rumored to have been involved in drug and human trafficking.
So what's he doing with a PMC?
Apparently, he converted to a cyborg body after being wounded in a gang shootout. I don't know the full story, though. Maybe he just decided PMC works better than the mob. The two worlds are closer than you might think. Boris has got a lot of ex-military buds that now work for the Russian mafia.
I guess either profession guarantees plenty of excitement if that's your thing.
Monsoon's no ordinary street thug, though. That much is clear from his record. And he was a master with the Psy even before he became a cyborg.
You think he's in Denver?
Probably, given that Desperado and World Marshal are basically one and the same. Careful down there.
Raiden? Once you get those brains back, what are we gonna do with them?
I still gotta discuss that with Doc. He's still got the brains from Mexico, but the human rights group wouldn't take them in. It didn't sound like it was going too smoothly.
Yeah, that's what he told me too. I can understand the NGO's position, but these kids, they're completely helpless in all this.
I know. We don't have nearly enough cyborg bodies for all of them. And if we want to give them child-sized bodies, they'd have to be almost entirely custom-made. For now, Doc's sending virtual environment data to their brains, just like their VR training. At least that should help cut down on their stress levels.
Yeah, but that only works up to a point, doesn't it? Doc said he can't simulate realistic human interaction with the tech we have right now. They must be lonely.
And they know lonely. None of them had families. That, or they were abandoned by them. For some of them, the real world might not be a whole lot different.
You
know what my childhood was like. I'd take life in an empty room by myself over that any day.
Raiden.
It's a work in progress for sure. But Doc will work something out.
I heard what happened, Raiden. I don't know if I can offer much help, but at least I'm still here to save your data, okay?
Thanks. If things get bad, go ahead and delete it.
If worse comes to worse, I'll do it. But we're on an encrypted line, so we should be okay. Did you want to save? By the way, what did Boris mean when he said those brains were for medical purposes?
They're not just spare parts. Legally, they have human rights. They just don't have bodies. They aren't covered under the Arms Trade Treaty. They can even be legally adopted.
Adopted? They're brains.
Not as the law sees it. These are street kids after all. Most of them have no ID or papers whatsoever. Local mobs gather these kids up, declare them for adoption, and then send them off to a U.S. medical facility for treatment.
So you're saying Desperado didn't actually buy those kids? Directly, at least?
They're not stupid. Just evil. The basic idea is that the Mafia has these orphaned kids, and Desperado pulled their brains, right? Now they need treatment, so the Mafia sends them to the medical facility to get them new bodies.
A World Marshal medical facility.
One that only exists on paper. Once the brains cross the border, next stop is World Marshal HQ. The plan is to put them into factory bodies and assemble the cyborgs here in Denver.
Pretty convoluted process.
If there's a silver lining to all this, it's that the first brains only shipped a month ago. Doc confirmed that in the data he's collected. You can speed up the VR training process for AIs, but not with human beings. So it's likely none of the kids have completed training yet.
Thank God.
That training, though. Sorry, I should get back. We can talk later.
So there's really no legal recourse to stop World Marshal here? We couldn't leak that video of Armstrong or something?
Boris, Kevin, and I talked this over already. Not gonna work. The media would never show it.
I guess not. That's why PMC started advertising so heavily all of a sudden, isn't it? So they could influence the media.
Yeah, PMCs don't have anything to sell to regular people, but that's not what those ads were for. It's a part of the aftermath of the Patriots' plan for manipulating the public. Restricting press access, allowing cross-ownership between media conglomerates. A media empire as iron-fisted as any other dictatorship.
So much for freedom of speech, huh?
Yeah, the Patriots are gone, but their effect still lingers. It's just too good a scheme for the government to get rid of.
All right, so we can't go to the news. How about uploading it to some video site?
It'd get buried in the noise. People fabricate videos all the time to discredit other groups and companies. But when it's bullshit the public wants to believe, then it spreads like wildfire. If they don't care, it doesn't get noticed, even when it's the truth.
Yeah. I guess videos aren't permissible as evidence in court either. Could the kids testify for us?
The only thing they know for sure is that they were tricked into coming here. I doubt many have even heard the name World Marshal before. No one can prove anything. The money's all been laundered. The courts can't do a thing.
So you're doing it by force instead?
Yeah. I'm not trying to kill any employees, though. Working for a company like this one's a crime, whether you know it or not. But I'm only after two groups here. The guys in charge and their contractors.
I hear you.
Beyond that, whatever it takes to unplug that VR program permanently.
Raiden, are you okay? Sam sure plays dirty.
No, he's right. The cyborgs who signed on with Desperado and World Marshal, most of them had no other choice. No one put a gun to their heads, but they were screwed to begin with. Their contracts worked completely against them.
Still...
I knew all that, but hearing those voices, it hit me hard. I guess I was just kidding myself the whole time.
Still, there's nothing you could have done for them. But those children...
I'll get them back.
Raiden, I just wish I could do more from here.
It's all right, Courtney. Sometimes just having someone to talk to is good enough.
I'm happy to help. I should probably save your data. All right, save complete. I'll talk to you later. Okay, check back if you change your mind.
Yeah, Raiden out.
Raiden? Are you all right?
Not now, Courtney. You're about to see the Ripper in action.
Okay. But you called me. On the codec? Did you want to save, or...? All right, save complete.
No turning back now. Just how I like it. I'm gonna enjoy this.
So then, what did you want?
I forgot.
I trust you do not mind my telling George about you, Raiden.
Could have done without that, Doc. He didn't need to know I was here.
Well, there was no reason to conceal that from him. My intention was not to impugn you. He has a right to know. It's not as if he can simply fly over there and meddle in your affairs.
It's throwing off my emotional balance, Doc. Things like that can negatively impact the mission, you know?
However do you mean? You did the right thing, did you not? There's nothing to be ashamed of. George has the best body we can give him right now. And the rest of the children are also safe. And quite content, too, I should add. It was your quick decision-making that saved them, Raiden. George's body will require regular maintenance, not to mention a replacement upon reaching adult age. But the expense is more than worth it.
You planning on signing him up with a PMC? 'Cause that's the only job we're good for, far as I can tell.
Oh, you are quite mistaken there. Just consider it. The power of a machine matched with the nimbleness and creativity of a human. The construction and public works possibilities alone are endless. I saw a news piece on German TV just the other day about a cyborg plumber, in fact. Let's not forget about elder care either. One needs great strength to bathe and care for the bedridden. But it's also very delicate work, if you follow. Not the sort of thing you'd leave to a machine.
Sounds great. So long as we don't start replacing the old folks' bodies, too, just 'cause they're old.
A valid concern, yes. I recall reading a comic like that once. An old farmer created a cybernetic body to fight evil military scientists and so on.
Yeah. But can't George do anything besides physical labor, though?
Oh, he has every right to choose another path. If he opts not to take advantage of his body's physical strength, he's free to pursue academia instead. His body provides a completely ideal chemical environment for his brain, after all. I can certainly see how that would prove handy in the realm of higher education. The only problem would be how to cover the costs. The issue of student loan debt in the US is thorny enough already, even for normal students.
Yeah. All this stuff's not just George's problem, though. All the other brains I'm gonna rescue will have to deal with it, too. Giving them bodies won't be the end of their problems. It'll be the beginning.
Indeed. On a happier note, though, excellent work in bringing George's lower body back. Now he'll very likely be able to produce children in the future. Bravo!
So how long can George use that medical body he's in right now?
Well, the body's full shelf life has yet to be proven, but with regular maintenance, I would imagine 10 years or more. However, this is also a child's model. It will need to be replaced as he grows mentally and emotionally. But things have come together pretty well overall.
Guess that's gonna be a problem, huh?
It will. Also, this is the only body of its type I could procure on such short notice. I'm afraid the other brains will have to make do with their VR environment for now.
Yeah. It just doesn't feel right that George gets the only body, though.
Well, it was you who implored I do something for him, no? I assumed prioritizing him was called for.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, Doc. It was a pretty stressful moment.
We will have many more brains to watch over before long, I fear. Something I don't entirely mind, I should note. The more research subjects I have, the better. Still, some sort of decision regarding their long-term care shall have to be made soon. It will be some time before we're able to monetize any of this research, after all. As much as I might like to, I can't run this lab on good intentions alone, you know.
Yeah. We need to come up with something, and soon, for all our sakes.
We should be able to mass-produce child bodies in very short order, at least. By the way, I have a helicopter crew on standby to bring the brains back here should the need arise. I, too, will be departing in a little while.
Much appreciated, Doc.
Consider it an angel investment. Who knows what sort of new business I may be soon pioneering here.
Doc, what did Sam do to them?
Well, many cyborg soldiers' emotions are regulated by nanomachine-controlled drug doses and electric stimuli. It sustains the subject's confidence while suppressing fear, anxiety, any emotions detrimental to mission performance, really. I suspect that Desperado also uses it to boost the aggressiveness of their employees. Once, SOP nanomachines were used to control all PMC contractors, not just cyborgs in this way. These days, you can control cyborgs with far more accuracy than ever before. You are connecting directly to their central nervous and control systems, after all.
I know all of that, but how could I hear it?
Emotions can be suppressed in part purely by chemical interaction. This is done by administering dopamine, using beta blockers, cutting off the reabsorption of serotonin. However, emotions are one way in which the brain reacts to the impulses sent from the nervous system. These impulses come in many forms. For example, external information from visual and oral sensors, or input from the somatosensory system and from one's own consciousness. The changes in intraneural balance, denervation potential, and consciousness that result, these things are what we generally refer to as emotion. In recent years, it has become possible to even alter one's consciousness via the right electrical stimuli. However, retaining full balance with this method still proves difficult. The latest research I've seen has been most enlightening. A suppressed set of emotions creates a closed feedback loop within the subject's consciousness. The cut-off consciousness generates its own emotion on some level based on outside stimuli. But there is no way to actually output this emotion.
The cut-off consciousness?
Well, in an intense combat situation, have you ever felt as if what you are experiencing wasn't real? That you are viewing your own actions from some external vantage point?
Yeah, that does happen sometimes.
Most likely, the sensation is rather close to that. The consciousness is inherently separate from the decision-making parts of the brain. Experiments using functional MRI imaging have revealed much about the decision-making process. For example, did you know that the brain has already come to a conclusion 7 seconds before the decision is consciously made? In any case, while attending the Tucson conference, I heard about the most fascinating experiment. Output from the consciousness was separated from that produced by the decision-making brain. If I had to guess, World Marshal has taken such research and put it into full practical use.
That's crazy. What could it possibly be good for?
Well, judging by your current state, I'd say it has proven to be quite a useful psychological weapon. Scientists do not engage in pure research because they think it will necessarily prove useful in the future. They are curious. They want to know more, whether about the brain or elemental particles or any other thing. Locating funding for pure science projects is challenging, no doubt. But the results can form the core of future, more practical technologies. Consider the direct links between the theory of relativity and nuclear weapons, for example.
Let me ask you something else. Were those guys even aware of their own internal voices? If so, what does it do to their conscious mind to hear those things? Does it affect them?
A very good question. It would certainly throw one off, I imagine, saying things you never meant to say. The emotional suppression would keep them from being too shaken by it. But, then again, were you to develop doubts about your field situation, you'd be unable to do your job. So, perhaps not. Then again, some consciousness must be retained in the field to carry out your mission. So, perhaps they are not aware of the voices.
So how?
Theoretically, at least, it is quite simple. I imagine that the voice data generated by that part of the brain is run through a reverse phase, before being sent to the oral nerves, that is. Not unlike noise-cancelling headphones.
Ah, it'd be easier too since you're canceling digital wave data instead of air vibrations.
Precisely. How very sharp of you.
I'm a cyborg too, you know. I see how it works. I just hope this inner voice stuff doesn't last forever.
A tad difficult to fight while taking all that in, is it? I could analyze their data streams, find some way to cancel it out on your end. It may not be easy, though. They use the same compound spread spectrum tech we do.
Don't worry. I'll be okay. All I have to do is not pay attention to it. Can't let myself get rattled here.
A truly fascinating cyborg. Remarkable limb detachment technology. Perhaps you'd benefit from such an ability, Raiden?
Yuck, not interested.
Ah, don't be so dismissive. Just consider it. With the right tactics, it could prove quite useful.
Sure, but, I just don't think I could ever get used to it.
No? Indeed, I suppose detaching parts of your body would be quite a shock to the somatosensory system.
Yeah, that too. Quick question, Doc.
Yes, Raiden.
Doc, those kids, how are they feeling?
Oh, after the chloroform, you mean? No need to be concerned. Thanks to your quick actions, the effects have already dissipated.
Good to hear. Why the hell were they using chloroform? I thought they stopped using it as an anesthetic ages ago.
Correct. Sevoflurane or isoflurane are the preferred inhalation anesthetics today. However, chloroform is still quite useful as an organic solvent. In certain doses, mind you. Otherwise, as that cretin mentioned, it can be a bit dangerous.
It certainly turned out dangerous for him.
Yes. In any case, its properties make it useful for an assortment of applications. The chemical synthesis of medication, for example, or creating the coolant used in modern cryopreservers.
Fascinating.
Indeed. Well, Raiden, wonderful work. Had you waited any longer before breaking the glass, things might not have turned out as well as they did. I trust you're not still upset, Raiden.
About telling George about me? Look, let's just drop it, okay?
Gladly. I'm just glad I was able to assist you in operating the cryopreserver anyway.
I know, Doc.
Not that it's so difficult. With that type, you simply immerse the organs in the artificial plasma inside.
Yeah? I wouldn't think it was so easy to keep organs alive. How's it work, anyway?
Oh, it's quite simple, really. It uses chilled nanomachine-infused artificial plasma. That suppresses the metabolism and regulates the oxygen intake of whatever is stored inside. The nanomachines are fully self-pumping. Once hemoglobin is detected in the local environment, they release a flow of plasma into the organ where the body's original plasma is still present. When George's body was inserted into the storage cabin, artificial blood, chilled nearly to freezing point, automatically flowed in at the points of amputation. This dropped the internal temperature of the parts from 36 to 10 degrees centigrade. The result? The effective suppression of all metabolic activity. The plasma was also fine-tuned to keep the SpO2 level inside the organs at 90% or above. The synergetic effect of all this allowed the brain to reach the regenerative treatment facility quickly, before any cell tissue was damaged at least. A most effective device, I must say. A micro-gas turbine engine enables it to operate completely autonomously as a stand-alone unit. Would have been tough to lug over to the hospital otherwise.
Truly state-of-the-art indeed. I suspect it cost as much as a well-stocked emergency ambulance.
At the risk of speaking inappropriately, this group certainly knows how to use its budget.
Guess I should be glad these guys have got so much money to throw around.
Fascinating. A cyborg that can separate its body at will. It enables him to avoid most typical attacks. But then I doubt he can remain detached for long. Sooner or later, he must reform. Be patient, and I'm certain you will find the right opportunity to strike. Monsoon can magnetically attract objects to use as weapons. But do not panic. Simply activate blade mode and cut through whatever he throws your way.
How's it going with the brain units, Doc? Any problems?
Oh, they could not be better. They're being kept at exactly 36 degrees Celsius with a steady, uninterrupted supply of oxygen and glucose. Synchronizing them with our equipment posed some difficulty, but everything's perfectly stable now.
That's good to hear. What kind of VR are they getting?
I've prepared very comfortable rooms for each and every one. It's not quite Schloss Neuschwanstein, but each one enjoys the equivalent of a 4-star hotel suite. Every room includes an attached pool and an extensive library of on-demand video programming. 3 meals are delivered daily, and while we're only able to do so much vis-a-vis taste sensation, it should satisfy the psychological need for food, at least.
Doesn't sound too bad. I wouldn't mind a little VR training like that for a change.
Oh, be my guest. I'd like to experience it for myself, you know, but for now it is available to cyborgs only. Exciting work is being done in the realm of invasive brain-machine interfaces, but there simply isn't much demand for it at the moment.
I guess not too many folks are willing to stick electrodes in their brains just for a taste of VR.
Perhaps, but the sense of reality is considerably improved over nanomachine-based non-invasive methods. If prices were kept low enough, I imagine the video game industry at least would clamor for it.
Who coded the virtual hotel?
An assistant. He used to write VR programs for UGs, but now specializes in cyborg software. A bit of a niche right now, yes, but when brain-machine interfaces take off, it will be a big business. The children's accommodation is a reworked version of the original beta software he built. The room's 3D models are all made using free libraries. It couldn't have been easier.
I wish everyone loved their work as much as you do, Doc. They don't go stir-crazy, though, cooped up in their rooms?
There's little I can do about that. Creating an open world would take orders of magnitude more resources.
What about communication?
Another weak spot, yes. The NPCs available to us are all for military training purposes. It will be some time until we see VR characters capable of convincingly human interaction. Sadly, we're also not yet able to connect multiple brains to a single VR space. My assistants are operating virtual agents to give them a bare minimum of mental care. But our team is limited in size, and none of us are medical professionals, you know.
They can't stay in there forever. So, Doc, what are we gonna do with those brains?
Well, I appreciate the bountiful data we've gleaned from them so far. But they're certainly draining a great deal of my lab's resources. If not for the costs, we'd gladly host them well into the future.
Don't think I can cover that. I'm unemployed now, remember? Besides, it wouldn't be healthy for the kids.
It's certainly more healthy than a hard-scrabble life in a disease-ridden alley.
Well, if you put it like that, yeah. But they can't even engage in real human interaction. They're facing an entire life spent in a virtual room. It's not right.
Well, we could expand their VR quarters and add more human communication. Would that work?
You're missing the point, Doc.
I spoke in jest. In fact, we've already begun researching a prototype child body. But you must realize our lab cannot provide these bodies free of charge.
Yeah.
And once in physical bodies, the question then becomes how they will live after that.
Well, all right, let's pick this up later. I gotta worry about the brains at World Marshal for now.
Yes. Worry about getting that data first. Raiden, your visual feed blacked out.
They're using red phosphorus. Got any bright ideas?
Red phosphorus, eh? Phosphoric acid is an effective absorbent of certain wavelengths of infrared light, including, conveniently enough, those picked up by IR sensors.
Convenient. My thermal vision's completely out.
The smoke is quite different from the white phosphorus and hexachlorothane-based grenades of the past. It was developed as a countermeasure to thermal goggles, which are more and more commonly deployed. In your current situation, I'm afraid there is no way for you to see through that smoke. However, The same goes for your enemies. They've no way of drawing a bead on your current position. You'll have to wait until the phosphorus pellet burns out. Then, the real battle can begin. Finally, the smoke is dissipated. Now then, time to show them what you can do.
Wolf, I'll handle the police. You're on scout duty again.
Affirmative. Exercise caution. They may be private police, but their specs are military grade.
Wolf, I'll handle the police. You're on scout duty again.
Affirmative. Exercise caution. They may be private police, but their specs are military grade. Your earlier actions were reckless, Raiden. Not to mention the damage to a perfectly good car.
I knew the risks when I decided to go through with this. Besides, the car was mine. Maverick sold it to me. It's not meant for private use. It was made for ops like this.
Regardless, your approach has proven most antagonistic. You are now a criminal, a public enemy, a police-killing vigilante. Even if your actions reveal World Marshal's designs, you will be unable to avoid legal punishment.
Probably not. But that's a price I'll have to pay. I gotta stop that VR program and get those kids back. I sealed my fate the second I attacked George.
But George is not dead. In fact, he has obtained an even more versatile body than his previous one.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about me. I was a child soldier in Liberia, like Miss Trawl said. I was a mentally deranged child. People feared me, called me Jack the Ripper.
A result of the so-called Sears program.
I thought I'd left it all in the past. But just like that, Jack came roaring back.
This is why you are so driven to terminate the VR training? I understand. I will continue to cooperate.
Copy that.
I am setting goal markers on your Soliton radar. Use them to follow me through this area.
Good boy.
I will ignore the condescension and take that as a compliment. You are welcome.
Wolf, the elevator's offline.
Surely you realize how to proceed. You are familiar with Newton's law of universal gravitation? Count the wire, and the car will fall.
So now what? I can't see a thing.
You are a cyborg, are you not? You possess low light and infrared viewing ability.
Right. Time for enhanced AR. All right, it's a bit brighter now.
Nothing is brighter, Raiden, but you are now more capable of seeing everything. Raiden, you appear to be suffering significant mental and emotional confusion. On the surface, you believe your cause for killing cyborgs is just. But deep inside, some part of you does not accept it. Some part of you does not truly believe in your sword of justice. It has lowered your effectiveness in the field.
I know. But if I just throw all that away, I'll...
Do you wish to abort the mission?
No. I'm the only hope those kids have got.
You have an important decision to make, Raiden. And soon. For now, it would be best if you avoided combat altogether.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Raiden, this is most irregular.
Humans are irregular, Wolf. You should know that by now. Anyway, no time for chit-chat. I need you to scout out that building.
Understood. For all his achievements, man is still capable of such depravity. Still driven by such cruel impulses.
Wolf,
I know it is your instinct to test the limits. Still, I find it pitiful.